Well, I'm talking here with Paul Craine. We left off there in part one. We're halfway through the slides here, so let's carry on with our chat.
We're all on a journey. I'm not claiming to be super green. I'm not an eco warrior. That's not where I'm coming from in this at all. We're all on a journey. But if in the Isle of Man and in other countries too, where we've declared climate emergencies, if we're going to get down to carbon zero by 2050 or 2035 even, we've got a long way to go. We've got, everything's going to change. The way we do things is going to change. The way we travel, the way we grow crops, the way, all of this is going to change. The way we generate our energy. There's enormous change to come, and it's trying to communicate that in ways that people will understand. Yes, we really have got an issue here. We must act. We can act. And then looking at, will we act? Will we take the steps? Because that's the hardest bit.
Well, your next one shows the increases in temperatures. I mean, there's a graph, and it's
the graphs are there. Yes,
there. I mean that's all factual stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. When I first started teaching about global warming back in the 1980s, I remember reading about maybe if all of the world's Met offices were based in airports, and if the cities where the airports were have grown around the airport, maybe there's now more housing around the airports, and therefore maybe the temperatures are rising because of something different, and in those early days, I was looking at that and thinking, well, is that possible? But then what convinced me was when you saw the glaciers around the world melting, and retreating. That's got nothing to do with cities being built near to them. That's something else altogether. So I quickly came to the view that this is something it really is an issue.
Well, that's world temperatures. Now you've done an Isle of Man breakdown as well.
Well, I'm keen in the presentations that I can offer to give an Isle of Man dimension to this. So I've done quite a bit of work on the temperature changes in the Isle of Man. The Met Office have been tremendous, giving resources out, materials, their data. Running from 1948, some Met Offices can go back to 1880, but the Isle of Man running from 1948, which I think is when Ronaldsway was built, is it something like that? And they're running through. So there's 71 years of data that you can look at. And yes, what the graph of the Isle of Man shows is how the temperature here has risen. You can see in the first half of the period from 1948 through to 1980s, 1990, we've got lots of blue bars on the graphs showing that the average temperature was below the mean for the whole of the 71 years. And on the right-hand side, 1990s onwards, we've got the temperatures shown in red and showing that they were above the mean. And you can see this shift from the temperature consistently below the mean to consistently above the mean as the shift goes through. So the Isle of Man has experienced this. Global warming is not just something that's coming in the future if we're not careful. Global warming has been with us for the whole of my life.
And you're pointing out Storm Desmond as particular, right? 3rd December 2015.
Now, this was the storm that ended up with the bus in the river at Laxey. It flooded the National Sports Centre. There was flooding on Peel Road and various other locations too. And what I'm looking at, part of the evidence, if you like, for climate change is the extent to which extreme events are becoming more common, and all the commentaries on climate change say we have to expect more extreme events. So Hurricane Dorian running at the moment in the Bahamas, and those Category 5 storms are more and more frequent now. Category 4 storms are more and more frequent, measurably so, whether it's in the Atlantic or typhoons and cyclones in the Pacific and Indian Ocean. So these extreme events are increasing, and I've taken a recent event in the Isle of Man as an example of an extreme event. I would be the first to say, well, just because we had an extreme event doesn't provide proof of global warming. But the picture behind that when Storm Desmond came in, some of the atmospheric images show what's now being called an atmospheric river, very high moisture flows in the atmosphere coming from the Caribbean through to the British Isles. And in the days that followed the 3rd here, on the 4th and the 5th, many parts of the United Kingdom had their wettest day on record. Here in the Isle of Man, we had a 6-hour period in the afternoon of the 3rd of December when we got over 44 millimetres of rain. You know, so this is quite a depth of rain. If you take the Laxey and Douglas area, which is about a quarter of the Isle of Man, the rivers that flow into there, about 150 square kilometres, and you put in this amount of rainfall, what it means is that afternoon in 6 hours, we had 6 million tonnes of rain fell on the Isle of Man in that area alone, you know, apart from what's happening in Ronaldsway and elsewhere, just in that area alone. So that was an extreme event, you know, by any reckoning, really. We're fortunate in a sense in the Isle of Man that our rivers are all small, so they haven't got time to become huge, swollen things, you know, but there was impact, you know. So we had the flooding, as I say, on Quarterbridge NSC, and then the bridge in Laxey suffered, and so on. So I'm looking at how this ties into our own experience here, and we can see how government is responding to that. We recently saw a mock-up of what the new seawall at Laxey would look like, because they've got to raise the seawall because sea levels have already risen 22 centimetres, which doesn't sound much, but if occasionally they came over, they'll come, the waves came over, they'll come over much more when there's extra height on them. And if we carry on as things are going at the moment, by the end of the century, we'd be 50 centimetres to 90 centimetres higher sea levels. Yeah.
Okay, well, to take us that last pie chart, really, what's that about?
The pie chart at the end is about some of the solutions. You know, one of the things we were introduced to at the training was Project Drawdown, and that's a hugely positive look at this. They've got, on that slide, they've got 80 of the best solutions ranked in order of their estimated impact, you know, and it's quite interesting because they're saying the biggest impact would be by sorting out the refrigeration problems around the world, the issues relating to hydrofluorocarbons, which if these gases escape from fridges, and you know, here in the Isle of Man you've got to put your fridge in the right place and pay for disposal and so on, but the risk of those refrigeration gases, they can be up to 9,000 times more effective as greenhouse gases than carbon dioxide can. So small amounts of them can do serious damage. So they're saying, you know, that is one of the areas that would have biggest impact.
Paul, look, I mean, there's so much here. I mean, I've moved you along at a terrible pace. I'm sorry about that, but I think people want like more information. You're now in a position to go out and do talks about this. I am. What I'm keen to do is to do talks. So if anybody is willing to invite me to their group, whatever that might be, village halls, schools, whatever. Yes. If there's an existing group and they invite speakers, all right, fine. I'm happy to come. You're certified now, aren't you? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm certified. Yeah, there's no hope. And if somebody wanted to put on something, they haven't got a regular group, but they thought they'd like to host an event in some way, yeah, I'd be happy to come along. How do they get hold of you? Present. What's the best way? The easiest way is probably Craine@manx.net, but they could also use my mobile 471 You know, I'm happy to hear from people. Send me a text as easiest, and then always a delight to hear from you. And keep on your other subjects as well, because you're welcome back at any time. Absolutely, yes. I'm still doing population work. Yeah. And I hope you get lots of reaction to this. Right. Okay, thanks very much indeed.